blast knowing Robert for 30 years, and he absolutely was one of my bestest buddies. What I found out is Robert Ansell had more best friends than most of us have acquaintances. Thank you all for being here. Feel free to eat during our ceremony. Make sure you get up and grab a drink, as many as you want to drink. If it's alcohol, you'll be paying. If it's non-alcoholic, drink away. And the food is phenomenal. I've already had a sandwich here and it was tasty. The appetizers are good. Might as well have a time where we are eating, drinking, and being merry because it's a celebration.
We have everybody find a seat, find a place to observe from. Everybody got their listening right now is good. Might as well have time for your eating, drinking, and
Once again, feel free to enjoy some of this great Mulvaney's food. A lot of it was Robert's favorite. Feel free to grab a non-alcoholic drink on the house or on Janine. And if you'd like an alcohol drink, that's on you. Welcome everybody, my name's Rick Cunningham. I am one of Robert Ansell's best friends, of which he has many, many, many. I met Robert almost 30 years ago at his happy place, at my happy place, windsurfing in the Delta, the Sacramento River meeting the San Joaquin River, and that's where that Delta breeze comes through that cools Sacramento off. For 30 years plus, many of us would travel our way down to the Delta and really just enjoy camaraderie, athletic adrenaline, and the ability to hang out and enjoy a getaway from the day-to-day grind of life. And nobody enhanced that more than Robert Ansell. He was a consummate communicator, and he would just make you feel instantly like you are one of his new friends. How many of us felt that he was our best friend? I mean, raise your hand. If he made you feel that way, I'll tell you, his good communicating skills were unmatched. I've lost a dear friend at the Delta windsurfing Remembrance of Life. There's about 120 of us windsurfing and wind enthusiasts. And my wife had told me, this is going to be the hardest event you've done, Rick. And guess what? It's not. That one and this one, they're both hard. But all of us, we have tears because of the love that Robert gave us. And I know I'm going to be seeing my brother Robert in the future. And the memories, oh man, I could go on and on and on, and each one of us can. Today we're going to have 5 or 6 speakers that come up, and they're going to tell you some of their neat stuff. These are tight people with Robert. And after those 6 speakers, we'll have time for each one of you to come on up and give a quick, concise statement, hopefully not much more than 2 minutes, because we do need to have this venue vacated by 7, thereabouts.
a.m. tomorrow.
And that's Wayne. Wayne is in charge of your slideshow. Give Wayne a big hand. Wayne is the audiovisual tech, dear friend of Robert, got Robert really involved in the finer parts of AV technology. Wayne knows his stuff. He's a DJ. He goes out and does weddings and things. And he has all the speaking ability that I do. Janine had this funny little thing. She just thought, gosh, Rick, you did so good at our Delta ceremony. I'd really love you to be back out here at Mulvaney's. It's going to be really neat to hear what some of your memories are. So Robert was respected and loved. He did as he said, and he led by example. And for a guy that could fly by the seat of his pants and have such a great time athletically, to be that in tune, to be the whole true gentleman that he was, is testimony to how thickly his tartan cloth was woven. And all of your friendships are woven right into that Robert tartan cloth. and we're extremely lucky, extremely fortunate. His cousin Mike spoke at the last Delta service a couple weeks ago, and he did such a fabulous job. Mike Ansell, come on up here, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Mike Ansell, and my father was Gary Ansell, and Robert's father was Bruce Ansell, and they were brothers. And they grew up down near Monterey in Pacific Grove. And they're little, they didn't have, TV and all that kind of stuff. And they just went down to the beach and they jumped off the pier and went swimming without a lifeguard and did all the crazy stuff that Robert would probably appreciate. And when they got older, their father passed away young, and then they moved around a lot, and then they went. My dad and his dad went into the Army, and so they got kind of separated for a long time. And I remember when I was about 8 years old, we came and I met Robert and Margaret for the first time and went swimming in their pool and stuff, and had a great time. But the thing when I really got to know them was when I graduated from high school. And around that time, my brother had passed away, and my dad passed away. And I was in Santa Barbara, and I was going to school in Chico. And I got to extend my family by getting to know Janine and Bruce and Margaret and Patty and everybody. And they were great. And Robert kind of became like a brother to me. And he would call up every few months, just out of the blue, Mike, Robert, how are you doing? And on the way through, I would stop and visit. And every single time, he'd come up with some new adventure. And it was inflatable kayaks, skiing, windsurfing, bicycling, tennis, just everything. We got an adventure all the time. Backpacking, we went on amazing backpacking trip in the Marble Mountains, and that I'll never forget. And just every time I saw him, it was an adventure. He was just a warm person, and just caring and special, and I really appreciate all the hospitality. And I remember the first time I ever went to Hawaii with Janine, and Robert invited me to go with him, and Royce was just a baby. It was like teething and everything, and it was totally crazy. And but we just had the best time, and it was all a big adventure. And part of it, Robert and I went up 4 a.m, went to the top of Mount Haleakala, watched the sunrise, had like a mimosa or something, and then bicycled down like 16 miles, just bombed down the hill. And that's what it was like hanging out with Robert. And yeah. And so one time I invited them up to the University of Oregon, where I was going to school, and I had no idea about planning the whole thing. Well, Robert wants adventures, right? So I decided we'd go to the beach in the morning, which was 2 hours one way. That was great. And then we're going to go to the mountains the same day. So it ended up, of course, taking like 4 hours to drive there. And we get there at midnight, and the place I'd reserved, I guess I hadn't looked very carefully, but you had to take a snowmobile on a path with babies, and we had like television sets, a VCR, all this stuff, and we took it into this cabin. It took 2 hours to get all the stuff in. Everybody's freaking out, and we just we're going on a snowmobile ride. It's gonna be okay. And it was a full moon that night, and we were trying to sleep. We finally settled down, and people started snoring and stuff, and we couldn't sleep. So Robert and I went and took a walk. We walked around this lake all night in the full moon with the snow on the ground and everything. And it was just, there's just so many adventures. As I thought about Robert this last month, just all these visions came in my head, and that's the way it should be, right? You just think about all the great adventures, right? So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and love you guys.
Mike Ansell, his cousin. Boy, those Ansells love adventure. And one of his best year-round sports buddies, Eric Redmond, one of my good friends too. So many things that we've all done together. Eric, come on up here.
Thank you, everyone. My name's Eric, and Robert, like many of you have heard, was also my best friend. He was my comrade. He was my brother. To others here, he was a father, a son, a husband, a lover. To all of us, Robert was an inspiration and an example of how to be your best self. Robert and I met 30 years ago on the basketball court. We were both pretty good, or thought we were anyways. But we were both also very fiercely competitive. We duked it out for a while and then realized if we played on the same team, we were going to be very tough to beat. So as my teammate, Robert had a very simple plan for me. He said, you run around the whole game long and keep it close. And then when it's crunch time, just make sure you give me the ball. And that plan worked. We won many, many games that very same way. So Robert and I also shared a love for outdoor activities of every kind. You'll hear stories about some of them already. For Robert and I, windsurfing, kite surfing, snowboarding were our favorite passions. On the water and in the snow, Robert had a smooth and effortless style. Apparently effortless. He was exhausted at the end of every day, but he looked good. And I gave him a nickname after a little while. One day we were learning how to kite surf, a new sport to both of us. We were standing on the edge of the levee, and Robert had his kite high in the sky. A gust of wind suddenly lifted Robert 20 feet into the air, and he floated without panicking, without effort, over campers, cars, trailers, and landed 100 feet on the other side of the levee on his feet. And he looked behind us, looked behind at the onlookers on the levee, and smiled as if to say, I meant to do that. That was the end of my kite surfing instruction career, but Robert earned a new nickname that I continue to call him to this day, which was the Soaring Eagle, and he earned it everywhere he went. Besides adventure, which brought us together, it was Robert's many other attributes that made him my best friend, and in a way that changed my life forever. Robert was inherently full of love, laughter, and joy. Every interaction with Robert made you feel better about yourself, made you feel better about life, made the world seem like a better place. Robert was generous beyond words, willing to share every tangible possession, but the most precious gift of his was his ability to share himself. He shared his love. He shared his passion for his family, for the planet, for his friends, and for doing the right thing. It was a wonderful privilege to have Robert as a friend, to get to know his family, an honor to be part of his life and the community that he loved and supported. The world is a better place because Robert made it that way, and I'm a better man because he made me a better man. I will remember Robert with great joy for the rest of my life, and I hope that I can make a difference in the world that is worthy of Robert's memory. God bless you all.
Thank you, Eric. Good buddies since junior high school, Dale Willis.
Thank you, Rick. Hi, everybody. Well, starting off for Robert, the videographer, I'd like to kind of have the opportunity to take a video of everybody here and give it to them. Give it to him for Robert. Yeah, exactly. Just a little tip of the iceberg of the people he knows, and he's made an impact to, no doubt about that. Yeah, known Robert for 50 years. We were, like I say, we met in junior high. But I'd like to start, first of all, expressing how much his family meant to him. He was always appreciated and loved his family, loved you, Janine, no doubt about it, and really did appreciate his ability that you gave him to sometimes have kind of a spontaneous lifestyle. He appreciated it, but he was Mr. Spontaneous. He was so proud of Royce, loved coaching you in soccer, right? And just was so proud of you. So proud of Taylor and her volleyball, right? You played volleyball, and your time at Sac State, how well you've done there. Just super proud. Always loved Margaret. You know, you guys had your times, I know, and argued some, but we had good times together. We'd have for a long, long time. So he just really loved you guys, and as a father myself, and with the family, it's very clear to me how much he appreciated you guys. There's no doubt about it. So anyway, yeah, we met in a science class in 9th grade. We had a mouse, rat mouse, these mouse Olympics. And we had a rat we named it Primo. And it won in the tightrope, which was really cool. We had a lot of fun doing that. But the name's kind of funny, you know. Robert loved Hawaii. So you got Primo, which is Hawaiian beer. So here we are, 14 years old, thinking about beer in Hawaii. No doubt about that. So then after that, so I'm going to go back, kind of probably be chronological about this. Had overnighters at his parents', a number of those. Cranking Frampton, Elvin Bishop, Black Sabbath, Lou Reed, and then after a good night of that, hitting his parents' hot tub. So a few of those that were just never forgetters. So his parents got rid of their hot tub. After that, we broke into the campus commons hot tub. Had some fun there. Had some fun at the clubhouse. I can't remember the area that he lived in there, but it was an area right behind the Jumbo that's on Southland Park Drive. But they had a clubhouse there, and we kind of took advantage of that clubhouse a few times. Had some parties there. But he was always smart enough to know how important it is to clean up, you know, and really do a good job covering your bases there. So we were responsible, but we had a good time. And then we had some basketball games too. A buddy of mine played at Kennedy. Robert was a center at McClatchy. So they were the main guys basically playing each other. I kind of sat off to the side way more. He didn't tell me to run around. You know, my game was football, and I just kind of posted up here and there. But had some good time with that. Then I do want to talk about somewhere back in that, actually a little bit, a year or so before I met him, my parents had broken up. And I spent probably about a year trying depression, seeing how that worked. And I wasn't real happy with it, wasn't a real happy kid, but when I was overall, but when I met Robert, it was a good timing for it. And his optimism made it very clear that, you know, there's a better way, life is good. And I'll always be indebted to him for that. Robert wasn't always short on confidence, you know, so I didn't really tell him that he kind of saved my adolescence and teenage years, but he really did. You know, his way of looking at things, we had a lot of good times, and he brought me, helped bring me out of the depression that I had with my parents splitting up. But his, you know, again, he helped me see the glass half full. Okay, we go into high school. I had a CUDA. I had a 72 CUDA. We did some cruising, and one time we had a American Graffiti kind of a moment. Little Suzanne Summers American Graffiti. Car pulls up next to us. We're on Freeport Boulevard. We'd already done our Taco Bell thing that night. We're on Freeport Boulevard. She pulls up. She kind of nods. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And so we did. We lit out down Freeport. I had to shut it down because we're coming to a light. I think we're coming to the Blair Avenue light, and I had to shut it down. She went on past, but we both, because the thing was, she came back looking for us too, after that. And we kind of, you know, we went and hid. We went home to my place and went and hid, and somehow she followed us there, and we're like, oh God, pretty classy. Never forget though, we were both raving, laughing our asses off as the whole thing was happening. Just hilarious. But yeah, she was a little more of a cougar than Suzanne Summers, but we were intimidated. We got intimidated. Then another time, coming home from work, he worked at my dad's pizza place with us. There's a 90-degree turn on South Land Park Drive. It's probably should be about 15-mile-an-hour turn, if you know it. We weren't doing 15. We came into it probably more in the 40-mile-an-hour range. He was driving this orange Bug that he used to have. He was ahead of me. I'm pushing him, and we make this hard left turn, and I saw the underside of his Bug. He was on two wheels, going around the turn, and just couldn't believe it. The most hilarious thing, we get to my mom's house a little bit away from there. He just gets out of the house just wailing. I mean, it was funny. It was funny, one of those moments with him. We, again, worked at the pizza place many late nights after closing at 2 o'clock. That was just a starting night for us at that time. Went to different high schools, like I said. I went to Kennedy, he went to McClatchy. Real close during that whole time. Went to Idaho once, did a hike there in the Sawtooth Mountains. Just incredibly gorgeous place. On the drive over there, my stereo gave out. And so that's a long drive. You're going through Nevada, 10 hours, no tunes. And so that's the way it was when we got there. Just one quick note that was kind of funny during this hike. It was a loop, and we ran into these guys from Cincinnati, and we're hanging around the campfire, and Robert used to be able to blow a pretty good smoke ring. And so we're hanging, and he blows a smoke ring, and it's going right at one guy's face, and the guy just, you know, it was funny. And that was after a bottle of Everclear, so, you know, the whole thing kind of that's it. Yeah, that was funny. But anyway, so Mr. Optimism, the stereo's out, and we start looking at 12-hour, 10-hour drive back home. No stereo, and he's like, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix it. And I'm, well, go ahead. He's like, we tried. And he did, and again, we were cranking Frampton. No doubt on the way home. Cranking Frampton. Bachelor party. I was his best man at Gene and Robert's wedding. At bachelor party, we had this area called the Gap. And we brought up a keg of Lowenbrow. We just had a heck of a good night, but we were doing what we call beer slams. So it was basically this later in the night, made a lot of noise. Later in the night, took our glass, and the other guy's maybe 3 or 4 feet away, and just threw it at his face. And that's how crazy we were getting. What's funny though is the next morning we're sleeping in. Robert liked to sleep in, liked to sleep in. So people are driving out of the campground, and everybody that passed, honking their horn, yelling at us. Hope you guys had a good time, because we didn't last night. It was big time. So anyway, was at Robert and Janine's wedding, Kauai, Fern Grotto, Poipu, that whole thing. What a blast. What a blast. He was the best man at my wedding. Remember doing videos with Robert of our weddings, and of course all the editing. So that was always pretty cool to see him working basically with both hands, doing his video work. But yeah, I've done some bike riding with Robert, of course, since then. Since he got over to Rio Vista and joined you guys, that just has been a whole life for him, no doubt. But I've still bike ride with him some, snowboarding, golfed. Bobby had his own scoring system. Todd Papa would know about this. It's the MSS, the modified scoring system, which losing your ball was a penalty enough. Let's just start there, and that's where that was. My sister had a great description of Robert. She called him the big puppy. just a big puppy. So that, totally agree with her with them on that. So anyway, Robert's experience, my experiences with Robert have always leave me with this: his unbridled, boundless, sometimes baseless, Todd, you kind of see that, and always unending optimism, period. I mean, just the full on, and I mean baseless tongue in cheek, because he was just optimistic about anything and everything, every time. And these thoughts too, life comes with no guarantees. Life is good, and carpe diem.
Dale Willis, I can see why you were one of Robert's best bros. He had so many, and he had so many nights in the Delta Inn trailer talking with one of his best ever windsurf buddies. I thought I was it. Eric thought he was it. Mike Vestal thought he was it. But John Stewart, you were one of his tight buddies he absolutely loved. So many hours are spent in between windsurfing in the mornings and the windsurfing in the evenings. John Stewart, come on up here and say hi to everybody.
Hi. Hi, I'm John Stewart.
Hi, John Stewart.
Longtime friend of Robert Ansell's. I wrote a letter to Robert. That's what I'm going to read. So, a letter to Robert Royce Ansell. Dear Robert, I don't have my glasses on. Let me. I miss you each day and think of you constantly. We should have had some more good times before your transition. I like to surround myself with positive people, and Robert was in that category, and his stoke was contagious. I know I have to live on now that you're gone, but your influence remains with me. We sure had some good times together, and you left behind close friends who are now much closer. I wanted to thank you and your family for your hospitality and kindness throughout the years. I look forward to more good times in the life each day. When I wake up, I'm happy I made it another day. We just don't know when our time is here. One of the funniest moments was when Robert needed to borrow some pants. And we all know he was much taller than I am. So I loaned him my Lucky jeans. And they fit in the waist perfectly, but the length was about 4 to 6 inches too short. Now that was a sight to behold. Robert was always looking for ways to improve his well-being and would share that knowledge with me, which in turn inspired me to live a better life. Robert was a generous and grateful human being. I truly love that he influenced my life for the better. Videographer, windsurfer, basketball player, golfer, racquetball player, snowboarder, all-around athlete, and one cool guy. Such a tragic loss. May you rest in peace, my brother. Sail on.
John Stewart, he loved you as much as you love him. Robert had a buddy that was a little bit older than him and shared all sorts of great wisdom and sports and traveling. Patrick Powers, come on up here, man.
Thank you very much. Oh yeah, I got some power here. If I looked like I just came from a kindergarten class celebrating my 79th birthday, yes! I cannot believe I am here at this moment. About 35 years ago, I met Robert. I had a public relations firm. He had a videography firm. We started doing TV commercials for all the restaurants in town. So after about 2 decades of this, of filming, writing scripts, spending time together, I mentioned, hey, I got a friend just donated a condo in Oahu. Do you want to go surfing? Oh, Jesus. Sorry. So he said, yeah, I found out that he liked to surf. Well, because of that, him and I ended up in Hawaii several times, ended up in Mexico several times, ended up in Pacifica several times. So on these trips, you find out a lot about a person. I found out that Robert was a sportsman, and he loved everything about being outside, which appealed to me. So I also found out that he had started snowboarding. So him and I became powder freaks, meaning when that was storming in the mountains, we were heading up in a blizzard. And there had been more than one time that Eric and I and Robert sat in a blizzard in a car for 2 hours waiting for it to break open to get one run in. And so that went on for several years of snowboarding. I miss that guy because he was an extremely good guy. If you look at all his photos, smiling all the time. Even then when he took a fall, buried in snow, smiling. He was an important figure in my life. After winning these awards, filming and stuff, I had a 10-year-old daughter who came to me and said, "Dad, I'm going to have my own TV show." I said, "Oh my gosh, let's do it." I had no knowledge what I was getting into. But through the help of Robert, he helped me buy a camera, buy a microphone, and I started filming with my daughter, who had a show for about 2.5 years on Channel 17, which is the cable in Sacramento, called Isabel's Animal Show. Robert helped me on every episode because I did not know how to do any of this kind of stuff, but I wanted to be the cool dad. So my daughter comes to me and goes, "Dad, I want to play checkers with the mayor." Mayor-elect, which was Kevin Johnson. So she played a game of him in checkers. She challenged him to a game when he became mayor. Then we had the evidence to force him to play a checker game. It ended up being a full-length movie called King Me. We played it at the Guild Theater. So I have another daughter, and Robert and I made a company called Two Dad Films. So with my daughter Gabriella and his daughter Taylor, we had a story, we had made a movie called The Map. What was so interesting about the movie The Map, it took place in 24 hours. 2 kids, 10-year-olds, find a map, a treasure map, that took them all over Sacramento. Well, what's real interesting, in the summer, we only had 6 weeks to film. I said, we're all going back to school. So even though this movie was in 24 hours, it took us 2 years to film. And I remember there's one scene, it's a year later, but it's the next morning. So they're up and their pajamas, they wore the same clothes. We saved everything. Their pajamas are all tight. Everything's smaller and stuff because they're all a bit bigger. And we had no one on continuity that's saying, "Oh my gosh, she has glasses on in this section, different tennis shoes," but it was very fun. Robert helped me out on that. That guy was a great guy. And I cannot believe, I cannot believe this is happening. So, like I say, Robert was a great guy. We spent a lot of time together. We talked. I heard about he and his buddy working at the pizza parlor. I heard about his high school adventures at McClatchy. I heard all this kind of stuff that I'm hearing tonight. And I just want to say, I cannot believe I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick Powers. Robert impacted everyone he came across, and when he was working with the city of West Sacramento, once meetings started getting going and he had his video rolling, he had some downtime, oftentimes. And he struck up a great relationship with West Sacramento security officer Steve West, who unfortunately let me know this morning that he was called in to cover another guy who got sick on the staff. But Steve West said, Rick, make sure you let everybody know.
Hi, I'm Steve. I was Robert's favorite security guard, probably his only security guard, but that's neither here or there. So my great story about Robert is he pulls up in his RAV4 and he's hot. Can I park behind the back door? I can't get the windows to go up. I'm like, what did you do? He's like, I didn't do a thing. So I'm like, well, when the meeting gets going, I'll go on YouTube and look it up. I go to YouTube, and there's a little button that most of us probably never use, and that locks out all the windows. Yes. So I peek my head in his car, and I'm like, got it. Robert comes down after the meeting. I'm like, Robert, I got your problem fixed. He's like, how? And I'm like, that little bitty button that locks out everybody's window, somehow you've touched it. Touches the button, all his windows go up. We died laughing. It was a great way to end a long meeting. That is my favorite story about Robert.
He talked about his friends and family all the time. He knew everything about, Steve West said he knew everything about Janine, everything about Taylor, everything about Royce, and a lot of things about all of you. And so Steve West, he'll be watching this video, and he's going to be very thankful that you guys were all here.
You know, it's been really tough thinking about a blank screen, and keeps reminding me of who we lost. Somebody who's helped us keep running a smooth operation here. I'd like to adjourn tonight's meeting in honor of Robert Angell, who served as the city's AV provider. We would see him popping in and out the door, taking care of us. He's been here since the incorporation of the city in 1987. And after coming to the city by the way of the community's public access provider, Sonic Communications, Robert went on to form his own business, Royce Video Production. He provided services for all the city council and commission meetings, as well as many special events, including the parades, State of the City, election debates, grand openings. So he also provided support for the Chamber of Commerce and the Washington Unified School District. During his 37 years of dedicated service, Robert became a face for City Hall and in council chambers. For many relationships, staff want to be incredibly reliable, resourceful, kind. And with a smile on his face, he was always available for an emergency repair or a short notice meeting. Robert was a reassuring presence during some tense moments for staff and a valuable resource with a positive attitude. We all know Robert will be very missed. So Robert was also an avid windsurfer, snowboarder, and he leaves behind his wife, son, and daughter. We send our deepest condolences to his family and loved ones, and will embrace his memory forever in our hearts. City to adjourn in his memory.
Early moves. I'll second.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mayor Pro Tem Early moved. Councilmember Sulpicio Hall seconded. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Sulpicio Hall.
Aye.
Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
Councilmember Orozco.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Early.
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. We are adjourned.